Once, in a distant land nestled amidst towering mountains, there lived an old sage who was renowned for his wisdom and deep understanding of life's mysteries. People from far and wide would seek his guidance, hoping to find answers to their most profound questions. One chilly evening, as the sun dipped below the jagged peaks, a young traveler arrived at the sage's humble abode. He had traveled many miles, his heart heavy with sorrow and burdened by the struggles he had faced in his young life. He approached the sage with a bowed head and said, "Great sage, I have heard of your wisdom, and I come to you seeking a way to end my suffering. My life has been filled with pain and hardship, and I long for peace." The sage, with eyes that held the wisdom of centuries, looked at the young traveler and nodded knowingly. "I can see the weight of your suffering in your eyes," he said. "But before I can help you, you must understand the nature of suffering." The young traveler listened intently as the sage began to tell a tale, a story that had been passed down through generations in those ancient lands. In a time long ago, there was a village nestled in a valley. The people of this village were known for their kindness and generosity. They lived simple lives, finding joy in the beauty of nature and the warmth of their community. Yet, like all people, they too faced their share of suffering. One day, a terrible drought descended upon the valley. The once lush fields withered, and the streams that had flowed so freely ran dry. The villagers watched as their crops wilted, and their cattle grew weak from hunger and thirst. Suffering had entered their lives. The villagers gathered in the central square, seeking answers. They went to their wisest elder, a woman known for her insight and compassion. She listened to their cries and said, "We cannot control the drought, but we can control our response to it. Let us come together and share what little we have. Let us support one another through these difficult times." The villagers took her words to heart. They began to share what little food and water they had left. They sang songs to lift each other's spirits, and they worked together to find new sources of sustenance. They created a bond stronger than any drought could break. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the villagers faced great challenges, but they did not suffer alone. They supported each other with love and kindness, and in doing so, they discovered a profound truth. Suffering is not the absence of joy, but the absence of connection and compassion. The drought eventually lifted, and the valley once again flourished. The villagers had not only survived, but had grown stronger and wiser. They carried the lessons of unity and compassion with them, and their lives were forever changed. "So, my young friend," the sage concluded, "the lesson of this story is clear. Suffering is a part of life, but it is our response to suffering that determines our true experience. Do not suffer again by dwelling on your pain alone. Instead, reach out to others, share your burdens, and find strength in unity and compassion." The young traveler pondered the sage's words deeply. He realized that he had been carrying the weight of his suffering alone, isolating himself from the world. Inspired by the story, he decided to open his heart to others, to seek support from his fellow travelers, and to offer his help to those in need. As days turned into months, the young traveler's heart began to heal. He found solace in the connections he forged with fellow travelers and the people he met along his journey. He discovered that by sharing his pain and offering his compassion, he not only lightened his own burden, but also brought comfort to others. In time, the young traveler returned to the sage to express his gratitude. "Great sage," he said, "your story changed my life. I have learned that suffering is not an end, but a beginning, an opportunity to connect with others and grow in compassion. I will carry this wisdom with me always." The sage smiled and nodded, his eyes filled with warmth. "You have understood the essence of the story," he said. "Remember, my young friend, that life's trials are the crucible in which we forge our true selves. Do not suffer again by turning away from them. Embrace them, learn from them, and let them lead you to a life filled with meaning and purpose." With newfound wisdom and a heart brimming with compassion, the young traveler continued his journey, eager to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And as he traveled, he shared the story of the wise sage and the village that had learned to conquer suffering through unity and compassion, leaving a trail of inspiration and hope in his wake.